And hello again, and here we are back in my rather warm garage today for a quick update on my various projects. It's warm in here because it's bloody warm outside. We're at the start of so-called extreme heat wave weather, which is going to be lasting for the next 2 or 3 days. So I am staying well out of the sun because I burn so easily, and we'll stay in here in the shade. But even in here it's quite warm. But work continues, work continues. So I have brought a few things back from Jeff's workshop this week for the Z1000A1 project, including this. This is his handmade billet mount for the rear caliper. And I'll show you a photograph of that now. As you can see, it's got quite a lot of machine marks on it, which I've got to remove slowly by hand with various grades of wet and dry sandpaper, which is about as exciting as watching paint dry, so we won't see that, but it needs to be done before this part can go off to be ceramically anodized by Camcoat at some point in the next few weeks. The Mark II is currently outside, just give me a bit more room, and one thing I've done today is I finally got hold of some of this. This is a 8mm very thin wall tubing, and I need this to connect the two dash pots here on the 1170 to their respective master cylinders. I've been looking for this for ages, but I found it in the end. All looks odd at the moment because I've not tightened everything up, but it should go something like that. Hopefully you can't hear the dog too loud in the background. And so moving on then, Jeff has still got the front end of the Z1000A1, which came from, of course, a Z900 RS, upside down forks, and hopefully in the next few days we can get that work finished so the front end will fit on the old Z1000A1 frame. That's all going on right now. What I can't do yet is get the damn thing on its wheels because I don't have a front wheel. I thought I had a front wheel. I ordered it for £300, but it turned out it was a wrong front wheel. It was a wheel from a cafe version, which is all black, whereas my rear wheel is from a standard Z900 RS, which has polished highlights, so they don't match. So that had to go back. I'm still looking. I've been looking now for about 3 months. Nothing's turned up, so just have to wait, I guess, and be patient. Now, when it comes to the engine of the Z1000A1, a lot's going on right now, but I'm saving that for a separate video just about the engine. And I've noticed recently, but just by chance, my videos have got a bit longer because there's more going on. I usually do them about 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, and recently I've done a few 25-30 minute videos, and people seem to like them better. I get more views for some reason because they're a bit longer, so I guess there's more going on in those videos. So that's a lesson learnt, and so it's clear that those longer videos are more popular. Therefore, from now on, I'll try and continue that trend, and rather than posting, say, a 10 or 15 minute video every week, I may end up posting only every 2 weeks, but that video will be about half an hour long. We'll have a lot more content. So because of that, I've now got 2 videos with quite a lot of content in them already, which I'm not going to publish yet. I'm going to wait until we've got the full story. Right now there's things that are sort of half finished, and I'm holding them back until we've got everything here finished, and you can sort of stand back and go, yes, we've seen the beginning, the middle and the end, which is something I've not done before. So yeah, you may find that, as I say, from going forward, there may not be a video every single week. There'll be one maybe every 2 weeks. I mean, I don't do this for a living, so I'll do it whenever I want to. And those 2 videos that I've done to date are all about the engine of the Z1000A1, and also the work I'm doing on the rolling chassis of the Mark II, because there's quite a lot of things to do there. Yeah, so so far so good. It's not always been plain sailing. I've got quite a lot of problems I've met along the way, but you'll hear about that in those longer videos. And so moving on then to the 1170 here. I did get a comment on a recent video, not about the 1170, that said, hey, what's happening with your 1170 project? We haven't seen it for a while. It all seemed to be going quite well, and now suddenly you've not done any videos. And that's quite deliberate, because right now we're in the middle of summer, and I'm trying to get as much as I can done on my other projects while I still can, because I can roll the bikes out on the drive and work on them, or roll some bikes outside and work in here where I've got some room. I can't do that in winter when it's cold and wet and windy and snowing, whatever. I can't wheel the bikes outside and work on them in the rain. I also don't want to wheel the bikes outside in the cold, damp and rain and work in here, because you know, they're not complete yet. They just go rusty, and you know, there's things that need to be protected from the rain, so I don't want to do that either. Therefore, this this has been left a little bit while I concentrate on the Mark II and the Z1000A1. I want to get as much as I can done with those two projects while I can. Kind of like a make hay while the sun shines sort of thing. But we've not forgotten about this bike. I've just fitted my hoses for the brakes there, and I've just got some parts back from Camcoat, things like the pegs and shifter levers and so on, which I've been slightly coated, very hard wearing coating. Hopefully it'll stay looking good for a long time, so I've got to fit them. My big problem with this bike is trying to make it oil tight, because this area here is all non-standard. It's got an outrigger system on it that Jeff made for me, and my first attempt it leaked like a sieve. One problem is that I had to make my own gasket because it's a non-standard part, and that wasn't so easy to do, but you know, I got better at it the more to do. I made it out of 0.25mm gasket material, gasket paper, and I think that wasn't thick enough, so I did it again, this time with 0.5mm, put it on, filled it with oil again. Now this takes a long time to do, it's a lot of work, and you're worrying about stripping a thread every time you do it, you've got to torque everything down just right. It's not an easy part to fit, partly because when we made that part, the engine was in one place and the frame was in another place, and the two couldn't come together because of COVID. So when I fit this plate, it should be straightforward, but it's not, because I have to put this shifter rod through the plate first, put it together, and then fit this bit here, the shifter arms on the shifter drum here. I'm doing that while the plate's in the way. I've got about that much room, so I'm trying to work down there, and you know, it's just very awkward to do, very difficult. I'm also doing it when the gasket's in place, and I've got some gasket sealant on there as well, which I'm trying not to move or disturb. It's just a nightmare. It's also quite painful for me because I'm having to kneel down for a long time, which, you know, in my current condition is not ideal for me. So yeah, I just left it. But I did it again, this time with the 0.5mm gasket paper, and it still leaked. Not as much, but it still leaked. So now I've made another gasket, this time from 0.8, and hopefully that will do the job. I also actually, in despair, I bought this thing, which is a standard in a plate which goes on here, just to see, you know, maybe if I can't get it to work, I'll just have to go for this and forget about all this hard work we've done so far. And what I noticed, which was quite interesting, was this gasket on here, which is all broken off, but it's, you know, there's bits of it still on it. It's really thick. It's like kind of spongy almost. So it's like, well, that's interesting. Perhaps you know, I really should have really thick gasket on there. Not sure why. I mean, obviously one reason is because it's where the case is split, so you've got a gasket going over a split case, so that might be where the issue occurs. I don't know, but if you feel it, it feels, you know, pretty good. Do not offset or anything, so I don't know. It's a job I've got to do, or in fact I might not do. I might just go and get some help for that, because I am struggling with it. But once that's done, I hopefully can start the engine for the first time. I have turned over the engine so far, but of course as soon as I hit the button, it's going to leak oil from there, so I didn't have the plugs connected. I just thought I hit it, and just to make sure the circuit worked, the starter motor works, and all that kind of thing, which it did. And so, as I say, at the moment, while the sun shines, my efforts are elsewhere with the Mark II, which is right now wheeled out on the drive, and with the Z1000A1, which is in pieces at Jeff's workshop and here and everywhere else. And so moving on, I've still got two more bikes behind me that needs work. I've got my very long term Moto Guzzi project here, which is now stalled because I'm in Kawasaki mode at the moment. In the corner we've got the green Kawasaki ZX50. So I did a whole series of videos about that bike where we restored the complete rolling chassis, as well as fitting more modern R6 discs and calipers to the front end, even though we kept the original wheel and forks. And that's not an easy conversion. Doing it again, I wouldn't do it again. I'd just get a more modern front end and stick it on the bike, because that was a very difficult, expensive conversion, but it's done now. What of course it lacks is an engine, and the engine for the bike is still at Les's workshop, where it's been for what, nearly 2 years? I'm not sure now, it's a long time anyway. And the reason for that is because the engine was removed by Mike, who gave me the bike, before we got it, because he had a broken exhaust stud, so it made sense to remove the engine to get that exhaust stud out, and that's as far as he got. So the plan was that Les would do that, but he's been so busy that it's just not happened yet. So he's currently working on my Mark II engine, and I've decided that when that's complete, the next engine I wanted to build is the Z1000A1 engine, for which I've already got most parts. And that leaves the poor old 650 engine out in the cold, or rather out sitting on the floor of his workshop, getting in the way, getting underfoot. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that engine home to me to get it out of his way, and then I'll decide what to do with it. I'm not sure yet. I'm not really an engine builder, so I don't have the space or the time or the skill probably to completely rebuild an engine. But I can take one apart. I'm not sure I can put it back together again so it works, but I can certainly take one apart. So what I might do is I might just lift the head so we can repair the broken exhaust stud. And while you're doing that, you may as well do all of them, just replace all the exhaust studs. And if I'm doing that, I may as well then perhaps go through the whole head, maybe get the valve seats recut, check everything basically. Does it need new valves? Does it need new valve guides, new seals? Don't know. You're doing that, you may as well then carry on and remove the barrels, or the barrel. Check that, so then you can get down to looking at the crank. Is there any looseness? Is there any wear there? If you're doing that, you may as well carry on and maybe split the cases. And if you're doing that, you may as well just start again and completely rebuild the engine. So that's what I might do. I might try and do that myself. If I get into a real, nightmare problems where I can't progress, perhaps there's a broken screw somewhere that I can't get out, then I've always got some help nearby if need be. Yeah, so I think I'll do that. What I won't try and do, I think, is try and rebuild it all, because I'm not very good at rebuilding engines. I have done a couple of them, but I didn't enjoy it. It was like very stressful for me, and I shouldn't get too stressed about things. I do. So yeah, taking them apart's easy, but putting it back together again where it works perfectly is not so easy. So what I'll do is I think I'll take it all apart, get all the parts checked, replaced, refinished, the cases, the barrel, that sort of thing. If need be, we'll rebore it and get new pistons in there, and then I'll leave it up to Les at some point, or somebody else, to rebuild it back together again. And what's interesting is, right now, Les has a project, another Z650, which I call Drew's project, because Drew's a customer, which we've already done a long video about, and that bike is getting a GPZ 750 turbo engine, so that's quite interesting. I'd be quite intrigued to see how that turns out. So that now I'm not going to copy Drew and say, oh yes, I'll fit a turbo to my 650. That's a bit boring. I wouldn't copy anybody, but I'm told that a standard Z650 engine, the bottom end anyway, is good for a hell of a lot more power than it makes a standard. It makes a standard maybe 60 odd brake. The turbo as standard is basically the same bottom end, and it makes like 112 brake, and it's good for like a lot more than that. So that sort of, oh, is it really? So perhaps we can do something where we can, increase the power by some stupid amount. But how we do that, I'm not sure yet. So that's something that might happen when the Mark II's finished and the Z1000A1's engine's finished and this is finished. Yeah, so that's kind of at the back of the queue at the moment, along with the Guzzi, because you can't do everything at the same time. And so there's a quick overview of the progress on my various projects and where I want to take them in the next few months. As I've already mentioned earlier in the video, I will in future try and make longer videos with more content, but they may not be every single week because I just don't have time, and in one particular week there may not be enough content to make up a half-hour video, but we'll do our best. So anyway, that's it. So thanks for watching and cheers.